Maybach music.
Can anybody out there hear me? Hear me?
附近，汽风14:22到达，请为您准时送达。
常走啊，你们听这儿了啊？
Non, viens par là. Tu es de Wessel? Ah. Et le petit là, emmenez-le à la brigade. Tiens, parle ici, ma main. Oui. Emmenez-le à la brigade, on va le positionner là-bas, emmenez-le à la brigade. C'est la deuxième fois que je retrouve dans la scène.
Los Mellizos waterfall in Pucón, southern Chile.
Uważaj! Uważaj! Hej!
Police, stop! You're under arrest. You're under arrest. You have the right to repeat that instruction. Let's go. Let's go.
Demon is D-mon. Mon is moon, meaning emotion. D means negative. A demon is a negative emotion, which possess your mind, body, and spirit. These entities are created by your own thought forms. You feed them by giving them mental and emotional energy. Every addiction you have is an astral entity that you have created. The more thoughts and emotions that you give to these entities, the stronger impact they have over your physical body. I, Magi Nation, you are a magician bringing thoughts and emotions into physical reality. You've been doing magic your whole
Go down. Oh my god. Some dogs get tied up before whenever you go. Yeah, he didn't show no more video because that would have been hard to get those things apart.
I know I don't wipe my ass and it stinks when I walk past you in public, but there is no reason for you guys to be making this face when I walk by. I see you doing that, and it makes me feel like shit. So not only am I smelling like shit, I'm now feeling like shit because you don't know how to control your face. And everybody's always talking about how disgusting it is that I don't wipe. But you know what? If the Lord wanted me to wipe my ass, he would have built in toilet paper into my body. And he didn't. The smell of doo-doo is actually supposed to be a pheromone to attract mates. But we've gotten so used, as a society, we have decided to give into capitalism. We buy this toilet paper, we wipe away our pheromones, and that's why a lot of you have a hard time reproducing, because that actually is supposed to help with your fertility. Do you know all the toxic chemicals that are inside of toilet paper? And then think, that toilet paper dissolves in the sewer system. So when you wipe, it's dissolving slowly in your butt crack, and it's getting into your bloodstream.
We now have footage of what the moon looks like when you are beyond the ice wall, which we got from this video from 2012, which shows a guy in Antarctica near the ice wall looking up at what must be a different side of the moon. Now here's the actual video. If you look closely at the moon here, it looks as if it's in the shape of a salamander. And if you've heard anything from my other videos, there's this whole theory that the moon is actually a reflection of all the land on Earth. So what we see is actually sort of a map in the sky. So whatever this salamander-shaped continent is, it must be what the land looks like over here. And maybe it could be a giant salamander even. And I'm not going to explain this all again because I've done that many times in other videos, but basically there's this map from World War II that the Germans had, and it was based off of the moon. It was a reflection of the moon, and they drew all of our continents onto it, as well as secret ones that were far off in the west that were behind an ice barrier.
Okay.
You know that the Knights Templars had one of the largest fleets in the world? Did you know that one of their symbols is the skull and bones? Did you know that on every grave of the Knights Templars in Europe is the skull and bones? Did you know that when the Templars were destroyed by the Pope and the King of France, the entire fleet escaped and became the pirates? Didn't you ever wonder why the pirates were called the Brotherhood? Didn't you ever wonder why they could all sail into the same port and never fight against each other? Didn't you ever wonder where the Templars' fleet went? Didn't you ever wonder where the skull and crossbones came from? Didn't you ever wonder why the Russell Trust at Yale University is called the Skull and Bones? George Bush is a member. He's a Knights Templar. And many other great men who have occupied high positions of this government. Their goal is revenge for the persecution of men of intellect and science throughout the Middle and Dark Ages by the church, by the kings and queens, by the governments, and by the ignorant mob. That's why they want to destroy all existing governments, destroy all existing religions, and put the shackles on the mob.
We're all talking about Chelsea Clinton's wedding. I thought now might be a good time to remind you of this special guest here, right on the aisle at her wedding. That's Ghislaine Maxwell, in case you don't.
So this is when she did what anyone would do. She got her camera and began to record, and this is what she saw.
How do they do that? How do they turn a family member against you?
So everyone in the United States, so if you look, a summary of our main message is, number one, everyone in the United States, and it appears to be most of the world, are being tracked by certain satellites. And these satellites are called GPS satellites. And they are the latest technology. All of this is done with a top secret clearance. They have more than 190 satellites under their direct control. They track the precise location of every US citizen by bouncing a microwave beam right here on the top back part of your head. And if you place your hand there firmly, put your knuckles right above it, you can actually feel the microwave pulses. They're about once per second. Everyone in the United States is tracked. Every person that I have tested with my own hand, I can feel the microwave pulse. And these weapons produce a microwave scalar beam. In other words, this is a new type of technology that operates under a very mysterious wave. It's called a scalar wave. And it is apparently part of the deep state plan to monitor, track, and surveil everyone on the planet.
Oh, okay, great.
They aren't particular just to U.S. citizens. We have found that this is a global problem.
They have age regression technology. What this consciousness does on this planet is it inverts everything. It twists, it flips it on its head so that you don't really know what's going on. Inversion is one of the key things that it does. Everybody on this planet is in amnesia. So this vampiric consciousness that's here, that's in control of it, are coming here with memories. They're coming down here with memories. It's a holographic, very, very, very real video game where they came down and they had the rule books and all the cheats, and we were left and scattered across the planet with nothing. So they're holding the cheat book. They have the cheat book. So they're coming here with previous memories of lifetimes. They want to blur the lines of everything so that there's confusion. And so I think I said before, like one of their mottos, Masonic mottos, is Ordo ad Chaos, which is order out of chaos. And so what they want to do is create literally as much chaos by blurring the lines of everything, whether it's sexuality or whatever, so that then they can implement their new world, new world systems.
I don't understand why you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on. And then, I mean, it's such a simple question, and it's haunted me ever since. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Ask yourself that question. Why do we have to pay to live on a planet we were born on? And who are we actually paying for the privilege of being alive here? Who made them the boss? Who put them in charge? You know? Think about that. We're looking at a war over water, when instead of feeding the military-industrial complex, we could be building desalination plants all over the world so everybody could have water, so they could grow crops. But are we doing it? Hell no. Why would we want to do that? Why would we want to empower people to grow food and take care of themselves? Then we can't control them. This is what I'm talking about.
The ball in a VR headset is doing more than just having a good time. It may actually be giving researchers insight into potential treatment for disorders like Alzheimer's disease. The headset, which was developed at Cornell University, allows researchers to study mice with Alzheimer's as they're navigating obstacles and potential threats.
We need to use a very powerful microscope and head fix Alzheimer's disease mouse underneath the microscope and then put it in a situation where it can navigate an environment so that we can assess its spatial learning and memory.
After researchers increased blood flow to the mouse's brain, memory function improved. With the VR headset experiment, researchers can monitor brain activity to see how such a treatment could help Alzheimer's disease.
Even though an animal is head fixed, it can still navigate a virtual environment. So having a VR system is very enabling for translational neuroscience.
Let me be specific. Anything I say tonight is allegedly, bitch. I don't know shit. I just be up here talking. I love Jamie Foxx. Let me say that. I love Jamie Foxx. But his motherfucking clone ain't shit. His clone kept on messing up. The clone showed up with a face full of freckles. We ain't never even seen Jamie Foxx with freckles. Bitch, this clone is stupid as hell. The clone didn't even have a tattoo on the back of his head. I couldn't believe it. I watched the whole thing twice. I still don't know what had happened was.
It looks the same to me.
When I was showing about the drone and the thermite, that's what somebody said in the comments. That's how the Hawaii fire started.
Well, there's a guy, he made a solar ray.
Is
gravity a real, measurable force, or is it something that's just been completely made up in order to glue together the globe theory? Of course, I'm a conspiracy theorist, and let me just make a disclaimer that I have no idea what I'm talking about. However, this guy tries to explain gravity by putting a heavy thing over some tarp and saying that if you roll a marble around it, that's mimicking gravity. Does that make any sense to you? That's the best explanation that he has, as well as Neil deGrasse Tyson, saying that gravity is the curvature of space and time. But when he was first asked, what is gravity? He goes, next question. You can't really measure it or understand it. It just is. So that's really odd that he can't explain what gravity is when he's apparently one of the smartest people on the planet. So, where in the micro do we see big rocks attracting small rocks and forcing them to orbit around them and creating spherical shapes? I've never seen this in the history of forever. But of course gravity is a real thing. That's why objects fall to the ground, right? It's not relative density and buoyancy compared to the things in the atmosphere around you. All I'm saying is something really doesn't make sense. But do me a favor and look into electrostatic levitation. And just look into how if you repel the electromagnetic field of Earth, you can actually cause something to levitate above the ground. Entertainment purposes only.
In school, we learn about one fire. We learn about the Chicago Great Fire.
There was a lot of fanfare over Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicking over the lantern.
The legend is that Mrs. O'Leary's cow in a barn kicked over a lantern and that caused the entire fire. And poor Mrs. O'Leary and her family had their lives ruined because of this.
I remember going to summer camp and we're sitting around the campfire and it's one dark night when we were all in bed. Bump, 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 oh, Miss O'Leary took a lantern to her shed, and when the cow kicked it over, she turned around and said, there'll be a hot time in the old town tonight. Fire, fire, fire. And we would yell fire louder and louder with each verse. And we do this like 10 times to where it was echoing back to us across the lake. And now when I think about it, it's like how many kids were singing this song about this stupid story. It's like an incantation. And it's spellcasting. Where did this song come from? Well, lo and behold, as an architect with a keen interest in history, I come to find out only within the last few years that there were fires in every major city. And then I come to find out that it's not just wooden shanty town built out of matchsticks. We're looking at city after city.
New York, Boston, you come down to Florida, Jacksonville, Miami. Every major city at one point was burned to the ground. Ancient metropolises that were burned down as if they were made from wood. Very quickly. Now we can speculate as to what the source of that destruction was. From above, from below, arson, biblical destruction, you name it. Nonetheless, every major city in America, if not Europe and the entire world, saw a great devastation by a fire.
Pictures are strange. The sequence of events that are supposed to have taken place are strange. Just a lot of clues. So again, they're saying, okay, everything was built out of wood. It caught fire. So we came in and we built all of these beautiful structures to make sure they wouldn't burn down again.
You look at any major city, they suffered this same fate. In Jacksonville, we actually had a fire where there are first-hand accounts of people who were escaping the fire. They were sitting up on a hill watching Jacksonville burn. They said that things on their persons started spontaneously combusting. Things that were made of certain materials were combusting. This was happening back in the late 1800s. No suitable explanation. But they're in a covered carriage. What happens? Materials on their body are still spontaneously combusting out of nowhere. Now, how could that be the case if this is a local fire spreading to anything that it touches? These people were hundreds of yards away, and you can go look up your own city, the closest major city to you, and you'll find this same fate.
Seattle burned down, the downtown. 2 months later, Ellensburg, which was at that time a major city in central Washington territory, burned down. 2 months after that, Spokane, which was another major city on the eastern flank of the territory, And when I discovered that, I just like, hold on a second. Like, there's something else entirely going on.
Some are still in use, but the ones that are inconvenient to the narrative, they just want gone. And there's also probably a component of the energy grid in all of this as well. Keep what they can use. They keep what benefits them. And at some point they determine, okay, we don't need that anymore.
Part of the story of the fires is that the fire chief wasn't in town at the time. He was away on some conference. And so the command structure was broken. So the mayor at the time in Seattle was the one that was calling shots. And he was making decisions that they should go in and make what they call fire breaks between buildings, meaning actually bringing dynamite into buildings and blowing them up. And that's acknowledged. And that's acknowledged in Boston, the Boston fire, in city after city, what's called a tactic to contain fires. And then they often say, well, look back in,